Ooh, baby.
Where did you get that?
Yeah.
That's new for you. On the road again. It is. I do.
Welcome to the show.
Willie
and as you
knows.
can tell by Willie's voice there, this is the first of a series of On the Road Again Outdoor Journal radio podcasts coming to you from Fishing Canada locations where we're shooting the new, I guess it's 2025 broadcast season.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would have said 2024 because
I
it's
know,
winter, but
I
you're
know,
right. The
I
broadcast
know.
season. We have to think ahead.
I'm Angelo, Viola. He is Peter Bowman. We
Hi.
have Wawa behind the camera and Dean Taylor over there on the board.
Come on
somewhere
now.
behind
And our
me.
lovely friends from Wisconsin behind us here.
You're going to see.
Give me a hell yeah!
Hell yeah.
You're going to see people walking in and out of the set. We are on location at Lumberjack Lodge on Sturgeon Lake. That is an absolute, we're going to talk about it later, but it's an absolutely stunning location.
Everything about it is
Everything
good, including the
about
fishing,
it.
by the way.
Well, including the fishing. We're in
Yeah.
the front office, so if you see people wandering in and out signing up, don't worry about it. It's very cool. We told them they could do that.
Yeah, we encourage it.
So this is the tail end of a
By the way, we're in
long-
Northwest Ontario.
Oh.
Just to let everybody know that the location we're at right now on Sturgeon Lake is Northwestern Ontario. So it's a long haul for, it's pretty funny. We have the people from Wisconsin have a 9-hour drive to get here. We're from Ontario and we have an 18-hour drive to get here.
Go
Just to let you know. So,
You could drive across half of Europe in 18 hours.
yep.
But that's what we do for fishing, folks, and we encourage all of you to wander out of your comfort zone. I know we talk to a lot of people all the time, and you say, well, you guys go up to northern parts of the country, especially northern Ontario, and it's just too far to drive. But you know, the 2 days we spent getting up here are all going to be part of the adventure and the journey that we have. Right?
Of course, we are. And for instance, our stopping point is Wawa, Ontario.
Right.
Everybody knows Wawa. It's a great little town, a great northern Ontario town. Stay overnight, go for a little dinner in the town, and go and then take off the rest of the
Home
trip,
of the
you know.
giant goose.
Yeah,
in case you
Canadian
didn't know.
goose.
Come on now.
Yeah.
But anyways, we're on the tail end of her now. We're down the home stretch. We've got another.
We're going home tomorrow.
2 days. Well, we're heading home tomorrow.
yeah.
It'll be a couple days
Sort of.
before we get there. And I got to tell you, for the first shoot of the season, it has already been a full season worth of adventures, and we're going to share some of those things with you: the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, we've had them all. No doubt about it.
Our trip started out to a wonderful place called Nordic Point Lodge, which you're going to see on, I think, the very first episode of the Fishing Canada show for the 2025 season. And it's a unique operation, to say the least. It's owned by Willie Pulowski and his wife, Krista. Wonderful host, by the way.
Fantastic.
And,
Fantastic.
I got to tell you, maybe some of the best food.
Oh, yeah.
Ever?
Their chef. What was his? Do you remember his name?
I want to say Chris.
Dean? It wasn't
No,
Chris.
it was
wasn't.
Garrett.
Yeah, maybe something like that.
Garrett, I'm
or
sorry if
Jarrett
I
or something,
called
yeah.
you Chris Garrett, but
He
that's
was
okay.
so good, man. His food was, oh my God, outstanding.
You know, it's funny because I think food is one of those components when you're spending time at places like this. I think it's one of those components that is, I'm going to say, a must. You know, if you're doing the American plan thing, right?
Yeah, it's yeah. But a place like this we're staying at now, they don't do the American plan. It's housekeeping, and then but still, food becomes a must because you got to plan all your trips. Will does both. He does housekeeping and American plan. They got a great main lodge that you can eat in and dine in, but you can also he has cabins where you can cook, and bring your own food in too. So and that's all part of the game. You choose your poison and go from it.
One of the unique features of that location, as well as this one that we're on today on Sturgeon Lake, is that they're both drive-tos, which is kind of cool.
It's awesome.
I know.
Get to bring our boat.
Right, and that's the
That's
big
nice.
thing. This is a rubber tire trip, which I think everybody should experience. I mean, the fly-ins are great. Don't get me wrong; they're spectacular. In fact, the Nordic Point Lodge offers a fly-in opportunity as well as a drive-to. But
Come on now.
yeah, exactly,
Indeed.
because our very own Dean Taylor experienced it.
Give me a hell yeah!
Along
Yeah.
with Steve Niedzwicki, also co-host along with Dean of that episode of the Fishing Canada show, which you'll see later on in the season. And they got selected to be the fly-in participants, while Peter and I took the Princecraft and put it in the lake there and spent 3 days.
Perot Lake.
Spent 3 days, which we'll detail here in a moment.
That's a big thing for Northwest Ontario. You're going to see so many people. Most people are going to bring their boat, motor, and trailer package up with them. They're going to tow it behind them. And you just see, like in this parking lot here, this whole place we have right now, everybody, every camp, every cottage has a boat, motor, and trailer. I don't even know if they rent boats here or not. They probably do. But at Will's place, you definitely can rent boats. But you see so many people just bring them up. I remember going to, like, especially the muskie lodges in Northwest Ontario. They are just loaded with the best of the best packages. You know what I mean? All the 20, 21-footers, 22-footers, and the hardcore guys and girls going out there nowadays, and it's just a great way, as Ann says, the rubber tire drive to these lodges on the best lakes in the world. So you see it a lot.
I would highly encourage, if you should decide to make the trek to Nordic Point Lodge, and if you own your own fishing boat, I would highly encourage you to consider bringing it up with you, because then you get the opportunity to fish one of the literally hundreds of lakes, all within an hour to an hour and a half drive from Nordic Point Lodge.
That's a great point.
Right? And you can literally fish a different lake every day of your stay. And they're all spectacular lakes. They all have different species. You can target species, or you can spend half a day here and a half a day there, go speckled trout fishing in the morning, and walleye fishing or bass fishing or pike fishing or lake trout fishing in the afternoon.
That's a good point.
If you don't have your boat, it's still a great experience, a wonderful experience, because Will has some boats in some of those lakes, I believe.
Yeah, he's got his main boats. He's got his main boats on the, and they're all nice big 18-foot boats. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
And he's got little boats, 14-footers on his out lakes. But you don't have that ability to drive to other lakes and put your trailer or your boat there. So that's a big thing. You know, that's not huge. Some people don't care. They just want to come up and not bring a boat up, and that's perfectly fine, convenient. So it's up to you.
But you're missing out. I got to tell you, you're missing out on the opportunity to skip and hop around. So we came up here with our Princecraft, our big 21-foot Princecraft, the Expedition 200. And this was its maiden voyage for this year. We were excited to come up here because we were trying out some new toys. First of all, let me just give a shout out to a new sponsor of this very show. In fact, Dean, am I correct? A sponsor of the network or just the show?
No, just the show.
Just the show. Thank you. So we want a big shout out to the folks at fishfindermounts.com.
Correct.
Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
And we hooked up with these guys because we found their stuff online, and we said, oh my God, we have got to hook up with them and start using some of their goodies. They make the highest quality, the slickest looking mounts for electronics, not just fish finders, but just electronics in general that you will ever
Correct.
see.
Correct, and they're one of our main things we do in these fly-ins is we still like to bring our electronics in. They make a portable kit like no other. They have a 30 amp hour battery pack that you can run USB out of. You can do all kinds of stuff, and then it powers our 9-inch Garmin for days. So it's a total, and then with their mounts on it, with their mounting, and it's perfect. I can't wait to use it.
But the main one of the main reasons we wanted to use this episode as an opportunity to play with some new toys, because with their mounts, their fish finder mounts and transducer mounts, we were blessed with the opportunity to try something totally out of the box. We used the conventional live scope transducer, the LVS 34, in its normal position. In other words, looking straight ahead,
forward,
up and down, forward
view.
And on the other side of the boat, on one of the most robust mounts I have ever seen in my life, we've got this big XR62, which is a blue water or saltwater version of the smaller 34. But the big difference is that it will shoot beyond 300 feet. Beyond 300 feet, which to me, when I first heard about it, I couldn't even believe that there was that kind of technology. So we said, well, what if we mount them? We'd heard a few guys on the internet that had tried it, played around, especially fishing pros on the bass circuits that had tried mounting two 34s, one in perspective mode and one looking straight forward. but there was some interference.
Correct.
And it just
shooting the
wasn't
same
working.
signal. There was frequency problems.
Frequency problems.
Yeah.
So we said, well, why don't we try mounting this big 62 with this 300 plus foot range, put it on perspective mode on the end of this big pole, and the 34 on the other side, and shoot them at the same time, shooting the same direction on two screens. And basically, we're thinking in terms of, in our minds, an overlaid view, right? Because you can see one happening here, one happening here. This one is giving you the north and south positioning of that fish or whatever. And this one's giving you the east and west. So now you kind of draw them together, and it should be the answer to all of our fish catching problems.
Yeah,
right?
Good luck with that. It did work. The system did work. Now we're just getting used to it. Obviously, we've had 2 shoots to do it with, and like 6 days on the water, or whatever, playing with it and all that. And it does work, but it takes a lot of getting used to it. It's a lot of signal going out there, and a lot of interpretation, especially in that perspective mount. You see in 100 and some odd degrees of a picture. We keep it pointing straight forward for the most part on our boat, and use a trolling motor just to go along, because usually that's our casting range anyways, like that. And then if you see something, you can always turn the Life Scope Plus to, towards what you see, and you'll pick them up like that. So it's cool. It's really neat.
By the way, we were using the also brand new technology for us, the new Kraken, Garmin Kraken engine at the front, the electric motor. And normally it was designed for boats like ours with big, deep hulls. It's got long shaft. It's got everything that's required for a big aluminum hull. But one of the real cool features about it is that Garmin made it so that you could actually hook a live scope cable through the shaft and down into the head of the engine, so you don't have all of that wire cable hanging out on the outside. Now, for us, that's not how we hooked it up because of these new poles, and we wanted the mobility factor that the poles give us. So when the engine is on lock, the electric motor is on lock, and it's trying to keep you in position, we're not losing the picture that we're focused on. So it's, once again, this was all stuff we wanted to come up here and try out for the first time.
You know what else we tried out, something new, is the EchoMap Ultra 2 units.
Yes.
They now are, you're able to record on them. So today we were recording on our phones, the screens, and hopefully we'll be able to show that on the show if it turns out well. It was cool.
But that is the perfect scenario. And this is, by the way, our 39th year of heading out for the first shoot of the season. So we're a bit experienced. Thank you,
George.
We are experienced at things. And all those things happened on this trip. So we're going to share some of those things with you, because a lot of you folks think that we go out and it's just beautiful. The sun is always shining. There's never any wind. The fish, well, we know them all by first name. So when we come up to the lake, jump in the boat for us. We don't have to do anything. Not. And these past 10 days are any...
Oh, yeah.
Indication.
We started rough, for sure. First 2 days we started really rough.
Give us a rundown.
At Nordic Point. So we get there, and right off the hop in the morning, we're having breakfast at the lodge, and we look out, and it's about a 20K constant wind in the morning. I mean, that's not too bad, but 20K with 30K gusts or something like that. By the time we hit the water, there was at least 30K constant, like throughout the entire day. It ended up being 3 days. But the best part was the lodge owner, Will, said, "It's never windy up here. It's never windy up here." We put our boat in the water 3 days, and we got the snot beat out of us. I mean, no matter how big a boat you got in that stuff, it is rough. And in being rough, and you're driving around, we said the show must go on. So we hammered through all these waves. It's not, it's not the best thing for your boat. I mean, if you can avoid it, you should avoid it. But sometimes you got to do it. The first problem was a fuse holder that we have for our LVS 62, the Live Scope XR. It busted. The Garmin unit punched in and busted the fuse holder. So we had that. We had to go back to the dock.
And we didn't know that that's what had happened, by the way.
No,
right?
we were out in the water trying to figure things out. And we finally went back to the dock. And I said, you know what? There's only one thing left, Ans, before we take everything apart. Maybe there's something gone off the fuse. And that was it. The fuse holder was busted, and it just separated a little bit. So we lost power to that. So we jury-rigged that up, fixed it up. And then we got that done. That day was good. After that day was smooth. And then we went on to day 2. And what was it? Oh, yeah, that day we started to hear our our plate so the Garmin Kraken that he's talking, the Garmin Force Kraken that Angelo's talking about, it's mounted on a plate on the top of our bow on the Prince Craft. And on that plate, you have to attach it to the front gunnel along with the hood built onto the Prince Craft. So you got 4 bolts on there and you got 4 bolts across there. Well, the water was so rough that those 4 bolts we had mounted there literally pulled out, ripped the threads, and pulled out of the top of the boat. So now the Garmin is up and down on the bracket.
We were going to lose it.
To the point, the bracket, which is 1/4 inch steel probably, his plate is warping up like that. So again, we had to come back in 30, 40K winds and like that, put her on the trailer, got a Will's shop, and we literally replaced all 3 of the bolts, 3 of the 4, with big 1/4-20s or whatever they were, with better threading, better bolts, and et cetera, et cetera. So that we lost basically 2 half days out of that whole thing right there.
And don't forget, we lost a few parts off of our new fishfindermounts.com poles.
All the waves. We lost a very important component, a little spring pole, and so it was. The wind always kills you.
You're making it sound, honestly, you're making it sound almost tolerable. It was intolerable. We
dealt with it and went back in the water each day. No, we didn't go back after the trolling motor thing.
No.
The fish finder day we did. But
yeah, we did by luck too. By the way, when we came back, fortunately, we had another one of those boxes on our portable Garmin unit that we tried. We thought it was the box. What was that box called?
GLS 10.
GLS 10. Because that's a signal that we were getting. Anyways, bottom line is we swapped it out, put a new box in, wired it up. That still didn't work. And it was hours before we discovered that it was this broken fuse that Pete alluded to. But anyway, so that's the technical part in terms of problems. Now, normally what happens on shoot one of the year, there's always little things that we forget, mostly gear, personal gear. So somebody will, forget a pair of, waterproof footwear, or their rain jacket, but usually it's kind of personal gear like that. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? We were headed out on day 1 through these massive waves. We got out of the waves into a little back bay. Before we lost the electronics, I got a big walleye on.
No.
Oh.
We knew we didn't have it before we left.
Oh.
Remember?
Right.
We
the
borrowed.
The day before. We borrowed one from a guide.
That's correct.
From Johnny. Little Johnny at Nordic Point Lodge.
We forgot our net. We literally forgot our fishing net. You know what I mean? So it's like you got a whole list, and I didn't even look at our checklist. We were right to the wire, wiring up our boat, fixing up our boat, and getting it ready to go. And we threw stuff in. Safety's in good, the booster's in good, all that kind of stuff. There was another problem, then we ran out of battery too.
Ran out of battery.
So then we forgot our net. So we said, just do it to leave. Well, you got a net? And they said, they grabbed it out of a guide's boat. So the day 1, we had a net with us on day 1.
Right. But we didn't do any fishing because of all those problems that we just alluded to. So day 2, now the problems are fixed. We get out to our spot that we wanted to fish day 1, and we get into a big walleye. By the way, the walleye on Nordic Point, at Nordic Point Lodge on Pearl Lake, are just breathtaking.
Yeah,
but anyways, that's a whole other story. Anyways, we get into this walleye, and I'm saying, get the net! Get the net!
I went back to get the net, and the net wasn't there, and I said, probably said shit or whatever or something.
Whatever.
Ange, the net's not here. He says, what do you mean that's not here? I said, the net is not here. So one of the guides that night either took it back or somebody took it out of our boat because we borrowed it and put it back, I guess, where they belonged, thinking that we didn't need a net for the rest of the trip or whatever like that. So I go to hand land this walleye. It's 24-incher for sure, at least. I go to hand land this fish, and it's on a drop shot. So I'm trying to pull the line, let it go, pull the line, and I'm trying to gill the fish. I couldn't get anywhere near it because walleye are the worst.
Water's choppy as hell.
Water's choppy. We were in ridiculous wind, and Pike will play the game. He'll open up for you. Walleye, they got nasty stuff on there. So finally, just about to get it, and the line pops. It walleye takes off.
Well, we saw the fish. The camera saw the fish, so you will see it on
that whole sequence we got on camera. So
we consoled ourselves of the bad luck, the misfortune that we had up until now, and I think 2 or 3 casts after
we
that.
We went back. So that was, we were working the trolling motor. The Kraken was anchored. We were working into the wind. We said, let's go up around now and we'll cast with the wind. So we dropped the power poles down on the other side of that. And then Nan started casting and
made a cast 2-3 casts later. I said, I got another big one. Get the net. Oh yeah, we don't have the net. Okay, don't worry about it. And I'm dragging this fish in. Of course, the wind's blowing one way, the waves are blowing the other way. This thing felt like it was a monster. I get it close to the boat and I realized I had hooked into a net.
a landing net.
A landing net.
Half a landing net, basically. A landing net without the screw-in handle. So, and it's literally the same net that I forgot back at the office. It literally is just old, grungy. It had moss on it. It looked like an old snapping turtle's body or whatever like that. So we started laughing. And
what are the chances?
And that's what we used for the rest of the trip. That was our landing net for the rest of the trip. So there's a little small, it looked like a trout net. We were dipping up walleye with it. Yeah,
no
just a
handle
gripper on it. And oh my God. So,
I'd forgotten about that.
oh my God.
Anyways, I don't want to make it sound like...
And that's all on camera, too. We got all of that on camera.
Yeah.
So that will make the Fishing Canada television show for 2025 for sure. So
just
you'll see it. It's pretty cool. It's pretty funny.
At the end of it all, we couldn't go out the third day on the main lake because the winds were just terrible. So
it was even worse than the first 2 days.
Yeah, if that can...
Like it was unreal.
So we headed out to a couple of areas that had... we were told had some big walleye and small, much smaller lakes. The wind wasn't as bad. We could work the fish fairly easily.
Yeah, this was all in the Dryden area. Like basically, if you look at a map, you see Dryden, Ontario. This is kind of the area that we were in. So, and
in this lake, we'd never been on it before. Very small body of water. We just started playing around with some stuff, and bottom line is on the episode you'll see we ended up catching 2 beautiful walleye. We learned something from one of them. We were shocked from the biggest of the 2 because we were under the belief, as Mr. Taylor behind me, Dean was, that in fact, I think, Dean, did you just not publish something recently about the male walleye being under...
I published something last year, and actually on the episode that I shot with Steve, I mentioned it in the boat, which you probably won't now see on the Fishing Canada.
No, we should put it. We'll put that in our show. It's like, bang, wrong answer.
So, every expert that we've ever talked to about walleye, including Dr. Cook.
Just lately, though. We've never heard of this before, right? Until this year, or last year.
They all made a statement that we took as gospel, and why wouldn't we? And that is that generally the male of the species of walleye I'm talking about now will very seldom exceed that 18-inch length, 17, 18 inches. So generally the smaller of the 2 that you catch will be a male, and the bigger ones will be female. Well, let me tell you, you'll see it on the show. We caught a huge walleye, and it turned out to be male because it was spewing milt everywhere on the boat.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just spewing it. So it must have
been...
been...
At a time that was well past post-spawn. The water temperatures made no sense as to that fish having, milt in it, and et cetera, et cetera. But, the water was... Well, it was 50s. It was in the mid-50s. Walleye spawn at 44-ish. You know what I mean? Usually they're done. So we figured that fish is just done. It canceled the spawn. It didn't get a chance to have fun with his woman and the harem and the harem, and he just took up and they'll basically absorb it, or I guess they'd spit it out like that if he was stressed.
I've never seen a fish do that.
Yeah.
So, but it confirmed beyond a shadow of a doubt that you can get male walleye growing beyond the 24
23, 24, 25 inch. Yeah.
So anyways, that's what we learned from that. And then another beautiful walleye immediately after that. 2 lake trout, which shocked the hell out of us.
Yeah, in 10 to 15 feet of water. Trolling in 10 to 15 feet of water. And a pike, a scarred up, ugly, scarred up, beat up post-spawn pike. So it was
and then to complete fun. The partridge in the pear tree theme, we caught a smallmouth as well. So a couple of smallmouth.
Yeah.
So it was all on a little tiny lake in a matter of a half a day. All of this stuff happened.
Yeah, that's fun. And that's so much fun. Taking your boat, putting it on the trailer, picking a lake, talking to some locals, and going and dropping it in. Sometimes you just find the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. We didn't catch a lot of fish there, but they were all quality. It was a beauty little lake. So.
But we had some intel. We had real good intel.
Oh, yeah. We didn't pick it late in. Yeah, don't throw a dart at it or anything.
It was a big fish lake, and not big in quantity, but certainly big in quality. And Thank God that the wind was blowing hard that day. We probably would have never.
You couldn't have got out on
experienced it.
parole, that's for sure. So
just finishing up the Nordic Point Lodge trip, I do want to state again, the ownership of that camp is in good hands with Will and Krista.
Yep.
They are, I think, 2-year owners, I think, of the operation.
Yep. And Will is gung ho, like he wants to make this lodge a success. So he's working hard at it.
In terms of location, as Pete mentioned, Dryden was the closest.
You drive west of Dryden. What's down, Dean? What was that little town we went north at? It's a little where Bobby's Bait and Tackle is and all that stuff. Anybody
Bobby's
listen to know
Bait.
that? Yeah, what a classic place.
I cannot think of the name.
If you're ever driving by Bobby's Bait and Tackle on the highway that Peter's going to give us the name of,
Highway 17.
Highway 17, you have to stop in. It's an absolute must.
Is it Ear Falls?
No, Ear Falls is farther north than where we were. So I'll get her, boys. Keep talking.
But you have to.
Talk amongst yourself.
Pete and I first stopped into Bobby's about, I'm going to say.
Vermilion Bay?
Vermilion Bay.
I think it was.
Vermilion Bay.
It was.
That's it.
Yeah.
We stopped in there about 15 years ago for the first time and experienced it. And man, I'll tell you, it looks the same today as it did 15
It does.
years
It
ago.
looks like they got a great selection of baits in there. It's half the store is a tackle store, the other half's everything else, right?
Yeah.
Convenience store, whatever. And it's a great little spot. You have to stop in at Bobby's for sure if you're up in that area.
So now we move from there. I think anything else on that, Dean? You got anything to add to that?
Well, Dean's fly out.
Oh,
And that he got a 30-inch walleye, and
A
that I say you
30-inch
might want to talk
walleye.
about that one.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
Boba,
spoils.
how about you? You got anything to add to that? I see you're searching there for information. Anything you'd like to add to that? No, You're good?
No, Bob was good.
All right. Dean, what do you got?
Yeah, me and Steve were able to fly out. So we actually, I don't know if we mentioned this here yet, but we were with the same guys from TD that we were the year before.
Oh, we haven't mentioned
We
that.
didn't want to mention those guys.
From the Eric
They're no
Lindros
fun.
charity event.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we had them back. So Steve and I were kind of on like entertaining duty for them. So we went out with Will and we scouted some spots.
Yeah, well, we were beating ourselves up. You guys had it made.
We had it. We were in a pontoon boat.
They got
laying
a
down
great
on the nice
Princecraft
seats.
20-foot pontoon boat. That would have been nice to have in that lake, I'll tell you.
No kidding.
Anyway, sorry, Dean.
Yeah, so we went out and scouted in that. The winds were horrible, obviously, for us as well, but that pontoon boat's amazing in it.
Where did we get that pontoon boat? Because that didn't just
That
appear.
is from Nestor Falls Marine. They very nicely donated that boat for the shoot for us. So we definitely going to give them a shout out, and as well as Princecraft, to show another model of Princecraft boats. But that was so nice of them to do that for us. So
as we get older, you would think that they would extend a pontoon boat to us to use.
a tri-tune 25 to 28 foot.
And it actually worked amazing. Like the mount that we got, the portable one from fishfindersmounts.com.
Yeah.
I think I was able to extend that to like 9 feet.
Oh, wow.
So we had live scope off the side of a pontoon, which is pretty amazing. Yeah.
And you just clamp to the side to the big.
Yeah,
oh,
it was
wow.
super easy, and then use the magnet.
Oh, that's cool.
Go back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing. So we were able to find a bunch, and then we did a shore lunch for the boys. They had never had a shore lunch before, so Steve led the way there with the recipe from Chaudière, and we did a northern pike, which none of them even knew you could eat. So that was kind of cool to show them.
Yeah, they were raving about it that night when we got back to camp.
And we always kind of say that, like, you can't tell the difference between them and walleye. But Steve filleted the pike and I filleted the walleye, and I left the mud line in the walleye because they were so small and I didn't think it mattered. And they said they could taste the difference between pike and walleye, and they like the pike like way better.
Yeah.
That's crazy, eh?
Yeah.
There you go. Another proven fact, right? We can prove it so many times amongst ourselves, amongst our friends. It's just people have to try it.
I know I'd forgotten this now, but now you mention it, just want to re-mention it again. Part of this trip was due to the Eric Lindros Easter Seal charity that Peter and I attended and donated this wonderful prize, Nordic Point Lodge prize for 4. They auctioned it off at the auction, and these 4 gentlemen that we had out last year, they bought the trip 2 years ago. They bought it again this year.
Great guys.
And it's Scott and Brian and help me.
And Andrew
Andrew and Mike.
And Mike. and they spent a whack of money that all went to the Lindros charity to be a part of this, and just wonderful guys.
Well done, guys.
Unbelievable.
It was a good time. They're just super guys, man. We had a little jam night there, singing songs.
My
You know,
God.
it was good.
And a surprise to us, we had no idea that this was going to happen until we got there, that another winner that had won his trip to Nordic Point Lodge on fishingcanada.com.
Yep.
Contest.
Rick Payne.
Rick
Awesome
Payne.
guy.
What a
great
super guy. My God, what a nice guy.
And he was the guy who gave us the intel on this other little lake that was nearby, by the way. Just a shout out to him.
Yeah.
We appreciate that. But yeah, he just showed up because he lives in Dryden, and he thought he would come in and say hello and let us know that he's going to be going up later on to actually take his trip that he won on the contest. So
yeah,
anyways.
he's avid. He's a nut, and he works for, what do you call it?
M&R,
the firefighting,
firefighting.
the airborne firefighters or whatever it is like that. Yeah. He drove us by. He showed us the planes and all that. My God, what a sight! Next time we're by, we got to go in and shoot that for sure.
How many entries did he have?
He had 2,100 entries.
2,100
Yeah, he earned it.
entries. So if you think, by putting in 100 entries to win one of the prizes on fishingcanada.com is a lot, think again. That's all I gotta
Keep
say.
working, people. Keep working.
But having said that, in all fairness to that, we've had people that have won $5,000 Garmin units with just a couple of entries.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of the luck, right? But
he worked for it and he got it.
Yeah.
Good for him.
anyway, so that
probably about
episode with Dean and Steve will be coming up this year. I don't know what number it will be. When I say this year, I mean 2025 broadcast season. And I know Pete and I are looking forward to checking it out.
Oh,
Sure
yeah.
you will
Can't wait to see the footage back at the shop, too.
So then we got on the road again.
We did mention Dean's 30-inch walleye, right?
Dean did catch a 30-inch walleye.
Attaboy,
Apparently.
Allegedly.
Yes.
He said they say they have the videotape to prove it. And Vova says maybe not. So we'll see.
And a mess of other fish that they ate for shore lunch. So there you go.
There you go.
Job well done, Dean. So we moved on, and that finds us here at Lumberjack Lodge. So we punched in the coordinates as we were leaving Nordic Point Lodge, punched in the coordinates that we had for this place, and they were relatively vague, right? The addresses.
Very often, these addresses in Northwestern Ontario are weird, just weird. This was ON-599, I think is what it was. Is that right, Dean, or something like that, right? Close to
Yeah,
that?
it didn't even have a real. It just kind of took us to the most northern point of the highway.
Yeah, and we're looking for the lodge. So, anyways, we punched that in, and it's perfect because it's right past the lodge, actually. But right to the lodge, but a little bit past.
We went to the extreme north end of Sturgeon,
Lake,
which is 60 miles off of our mark. And we finally decided, you know what? I think we're not in the right area here.
We did, to our detriment, we saw one little sign that was a turn sign or whatever. It says Lumberjack Lodge, 1 kilometer. We thought, but we're going by our GPS. We're thinking, and we had thought that it's at the north end of the lake. The whole thing was all about something weird going on there. Why is that? So we're looking for 1 kilometer. From there, there's no road, so we just kept going. We were looking at it. Meanwhile, it's supposed to be 1 kilometer that way. But anyway, so we kept going. And we finally did. Lance says, we just said, okay, guys, we got to tap out here. There's something wrong here. There's nothing even close to Lumberjack Lodge. And we turned around
and we were in the middle of nowhere, just to make it perfectly
God, no
clear.
cell, zero cell anywhere up
So we turned around, started heading back, and I remember to the other side of the road, I had seen a driveway with some kind of a sign in the back. I didn't really catch the sign because we were focused on looking for something on this side of the road. Anyways, we drive back, and I pull into this little off the beaten path, dirt little driveway, and there's this, I'm going to say decrepit because that's the only way I can describe it. Now, the folks who are listening to this, maybe are involved, but you might have something to say about that. But a decrepit-looking little building that had all of the windows.
We just won't say any names. That's all to this place, to this facility.
All of the windows had these white, looked like rubber white, solid blinds All of the windows, and some of them, the glass was broken.
All closed too.
All
Obviously.
closed. They were all drawn.
And on the back side, opposite the road, was the word office on the side of the building.
Right.
So,
but clearly, this office was not operational.
No.
Right. Clearly. So we continued driving down this driveway and through some trees and stuff, and we went into a clearing. And the minute we got through, guys came out of the woodwork. It was like, I don't know. It was like rats scurrying.
It was like a movie.
From.
It was
like a movie.
It was unreal.
Guys come out of everywhere. The woods, the outhouse,
kind of like a movie called Deliverance. Very much like a movie called Deliverance. That's what we were thinking.
I teed up the music here and it's not playing for some reason.
Oh,
but
God.
It'll be in post.
It'll be in post. And they
boy.
were all looking like hillbilly-ish, I'll be honest with you. And they just said, whoa, you can't go in there. And I jammed the brakes on. And
Here we go.
there it is. That's what we thought was happening.
Ooh, I like the way it
And the leader of the bunch, he come over to the window. I was kind of afraid to put the window down, but anyway, so he says, "What you all doing here?" I said, "Well, we're looking for Lumberjack Lodge, which is somewhere around here." Never heard of that. Oh, wow. It's supposed to be just like here somewhere on Sturgeon Lake.
And by now, his buddies walked down. The mechanic, and the guy's got pipes on him bigger than Dean and looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It was scary. And he says, the guy I was talking to, did you, Bill, you ever heard of this place they're looking for? He says, no, just like that.
Yeah, we knew right then and there, we got to get the hell out of here fast.
So he says, and so I said, okay, well, all right, we're just going to turn around. No, you can't go any farther than this. Just back her up from here. So we literally had to do some maneuvering and get that boat. We've got the Princecraft hanging on the back. And so we did a bit of maneuvering, managed to get it jackknifed almost.
I had to, Hans was going back to they have these boulders marking the driveway like that, like decorative. There's a granite rock about that big. And I look and I said, "Oh shit, I got to move that thing." So, if I don't lift that, these boys are rednecks are going to probably feed off of me. So I picked it up just like a tough guy. Okay, hands, put it over there. He backs it up, and meanwhile, I'm walking with a bad back for 3 days later after doing it. Oh my God!
Clearly, we had interrupted something that was going on.
It was weird,
and clearly, they did not want anybody there. And clearly, although there was a sign out front that identified this place as a fishing and hunting outfitter, clearly that was not their main occupation. So we got a little lucky, managed to get the hell out of there.
It was weird.
Half hour later, we found this place, thank God.
Heaven. Compared to that place, heaven. That's for sure.
Have been here ever since. The lake we've mentioned is called Sturgeon Lake. The outfitter,
it's a big lake, 50 miles, 50 plus
massive,
miles long. So it's a big body of water for sure.
And no, the wind did not follow us, although it got a little windy.
A little rough the first day.
Yeah,
right?
first day.
Yeah.
The highlight of the first day, the first evening when we got here, we were asked if we wanted to go on a bit of an adventure by Alan. One of the
oh my God, here we go. I forgot about this.
You forgot about this?
Well, I didn't forget about it, but I'm trying to put it out of my mind.
Alan and Patrick said, "You guys want to go on a bit of an adventure?" We said, "Sure." I said they had this place called Jackpot, which is a little bay off the main lake. And they said, "Have you got paddles in that big Princecraft boat?" We said, "Well, no, we don't have paddles. We have the emergency. We got electric motor. We don't need paddles." "Oh, no, you'll need paddles where we're going."
We're thinking we got to paddle a boat. I'm thinking, how the hell are you going to paddle a 20-foot boat with a 250 in the back?
Honestly, I thought they didn't know how to use their electric motor.
Yeah.
That's what I thought, right? But anyway, so we follow them in their boat, and we get to this little back bay and head up this channel to a little it's not even a little creek.
It's a little narrow dump out area for Jackpot dumps out into the main lake.
And there's water coming through, but not much of it. It's just all boulders and
it's
stuff.
a little brook trout creek.
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. But you could see that the other side it opened up into a bay. And they proceeded to put their boat, which was
You got a 17-footer probably, right?
yeah, 17-foot boat. But before they went in, there was a couple of boats coming out, little 12-foot, 14-foot tinnies, and they were on their way out, and they were banging rocks and clanging and almost like it was chaos. That's not where we're going. That's not where we're going. Surely to God. Anyways, these little boats came out, and so Alan and Patrick moved their boat in.
They got through decently. They still had work. They had to work.
But we saw what the paddles were for.
And they have to push off the rocks. They got the rocks. They got to avoid the rocks. You're using your trolling motor and the paddle, and the front guy and the back guy's keeping the back end back. And yeah, you're maneuvering through boulders, not like badass boulders. God almighty.
I'm thinking, okay, are we going to feel embarrassed if we now say to the guys, just kidding, we don't want an adventure. We don't want to go into Jackpot. It's a brand new boat. It's $100,000 rig. You can't ask us to portage it over rocks, for God's sakes. That was going through my mind. But then
it's heavy boat too, by the way. We found that out through this trip. It's how heavy it is.
But then vanity took over, and I said, "Hey, we can do this. We're the Fishing Canada guys. I mean, yeah, if anybody can maneuver and portage a boat through tight quarters and whatnot, it's going to be us." Good God Almighty, sweet Jesus!
Short.
What in the world made us do that?
They're going to call that place Crackpot, not Jackpot.
So we got stuck halfway up. Had to get out of the boat. This is literally portaging a 21-foot aluminum boat, motor, all the equipment and everything else in this thing.
Yeah, it's a beast.
And we pushed and hauled, and we couldn't get through. So finally, they threw us a life rope. Right?
Yeah. They were ahead of us.
They were ahead of us.
Kind of jammed in a spot, so they were good. And
they had gotten through already, and floated a rope down to us on one of those flotation
bumpers, the big bumpers.
Tied a rope to it, and they're because the water, the little stream is.
Only got one way to go, right? You can down right to us. Thank you very much.
So Pete tied that to the front of our boat, and they pulled. We pushed.
Trolling motor was doing its thing.
It was cracking all right.
Oh,
it was really cracking on those rocks.
Yeah.
Anyways, we got through, and I'm thinking, this is not good. How the hell are we going to get out? But
actually, you thought we were going to get out easier because the current was going down,
pushing
right,
us,
that.
Anyways,
it was worse.
We did a couple of hours worth of fishing
and caught a bunch of fish.
Oh, ton of fish.
Like, I mean, for somebody with a smaller boat, it's a great place to go catch a bunch of fish.
Not for us anymore.
No,
anyway, so
we tapped out on that. Then the trip back was even worse. Let's just say that. Like, I don't know how long it took us. It was horrible. It was horrible.
Let's put this to you though. The brand new Princecraft is no longer brand new.
Yeah, it's got some
now
battle scars on it.
Broke in, and we will be visiting a paint and body shop when we get back.
Buffer up a bit, right? Buffer up the new paint job would be good.
Tony, if you're watching, yes, you will get a discount. Don't worry about it. So that was kind of the start, the first evening. And what are the sides?
There was mosquitoes and black flies too, just to add to that. When we were going back through that, cranking on those rocks and getting that boat maneuver, we also had mosquitoes and black flies too. So,
like you would not believe.
Yeah.
So we get a good night's sleep and get up next morning, head out, start pounding away at fishing, and had some wonderful opportunities. I just want to tell you one side story, though, because it has a lot to do with the ending of how this episode is going to finally shape up. One of the side stories that we had heard about coming up here is that there was a wonderful reclamation program that happened in the mid-'90s on one of the rivers called Bell River.
Bell River from Bell Lake.
The Bell River. And it was originally, there was a gold mine somewhere around the Bell River upstream that was mining gold and a couple of other minerals.
Silver, gold, zinc,
lead,
copper.
zinc.
Yeah, there was about five. There's 5 things they did.
Anyways, for some time, they did the mining and the runoff from that activity.
Typical old school industry, right? Yeah, where it goes anywhere. It leaches into lakes, downfields, or whatever,
matter,
right? So,
right. And they completely wiped out all of the fish, walleye. that were using the Bell River as, their spawning
Pretty
grounds
much
at
the
home.
south end of the lake, right?
Pretty
The lake
much
is
the
kind
whole-
of divided, so
Yeah.
they pretty much devastated the whole south end of the lake. So
And it wasn't until the mid-90s that the local businesses, the M&R and lodge owners alike decided to do something about it, because what was happening is the north end of the lake was still flourishing. It had a wonderful walleye fishery, but the south end was completely wiped out. So all the poor lodge owners, including this place, had to send their guests 50 miles.
Yeah, minimum 30-mile run.
Right.
And then,
Which in small boats is a long run. So anyways, they decided to take on this project, rehab the river, clean it all up, first of all. The mine had since moved to another part of the lake, obviously using more modern technology to do their mining. They were under complete scrutiny by that point.
They actually rebuilt. They didn't just clean up. They rebuilt the spawning area. They literally rebuilt a perfect spawning ground for these walleye to come back, and they did a great job of it.
And over a 7-year period, I believe, they dumped 13 million fingerlings in walleye back into the Bell River. And lo and behold,
they're back, Belly. They're back.
We went in there, and it's still a run from this part of the lake.
Not too bad, but it's a good. Yeah.
It's a good run. But anyways, we ran up there, and to be honest with you, when we first saw it, we thought, I'm not sure. But anyways, we were there, we committed to it, and we went in.
Yeah, we cracked a couple of smallies way out in the front of it, and we're thinking, maybe if there's a couple of smallmouth out here, it might get good up towards the rapids area. Well, little did we know it was a mecca. We timed it so perfect. It was just unreal for walleye, smallmouth, pike. Got a few pike in there, not much, and it was just
sucker.
We even Ants caught a sucker in there. Great big common.
So
sucker.
we were kind of putting together a theory, because the walleye are done their spawn, and so they're not in their spawning for sure, even though that is their spawning area. Smallmouth have not started spawning yet, based on the water temperatures that we're seeing.
Pike are well done.
Pike are totally
ago.
long, and yet they're all in there. And I mean, they are jammed in. It's like somebody put them in there with a shoehorn. That's how many fish are jammed in this one tight little area. And an interesting thing happened the first couple of hours that we were there. Pete caught this pretty large northern, and he was wrestling with it on the deck of the boat to get it freed up and then release the fish. But we noticed that now the deck of the boat was covered in tiny little eggs.
Fish eggs.
But tiny, clear little fish eggs. They were not pike eggs.
Yeah.
And it wasn't
the color was weird. The transparency was weird on them. They're almost translucent and whatever. And then we thought about it afterwards, knowing we thought we saw suckers. You could see the pectoral fins on suckers are different than a walleye there. You can see the shapes of them. We thought, if there's suckers in there and all these fish are eating sucker eggs, which they do, maybe they were sucker eggs that thing regurgitated. We thought at first, it was a female that spewed them out. But in retrospect, we think that she was eating those eggs and she spit them out in her boat.
Exactly.
So... that is cool.
And from that point on, we started looking at it through different eyes, different set of glasses, because we realized that most of these fish were up here probably eating sucker eggs.
It happens all the time, by the way, in the northern part of Ontario with brook trout. I've seen it with brook trout. We've seen it with walleye, pike. With these suckers, the walleye and pike go in first, and the suckers stay behind. And they get all their eggs, and then all of a sudden it's a shift. And these guys go in to spawn, and then all of a sudden the walleye and pike are eating their eggs. So it's pretty cool the way it works. It's a kind of a neat little, and it happens. It's just part of the game. They get used to it every year. They follow them in the spring, both species. So
we just wanted to let you know about that, because what we experienced and what you're going to see on that episode of the Fishing Gas Show, you're going to look at it and say, "Oh my God." Like, how fortunate are these guys to be in that kind of a fishery? But we want to preface it by saying what you're going to see on that episode, we think, was isolated to a particular period of time.
Sure.
So I don't want anybody looking at this, and because we're going to give you the actual coordinates of where we caught all of these, and I'm talking a ton of fish, probably as many fish as we've ever caught on an episode.
Yeah, probably
all in one spot.
Yep. Yeah.
But
yeah.
I don't want to disillusion you thinking that you come up here and you go to the Bell River and you're going to experience the same thing, because we just hit it.
Yeah, it's all about timing.
Timing.
When those spawning suckers are gone, you watch. Almost everything will be gone. There might be the odd little smallie or something in there with the current.
These fish just don't belong there. They have no business all
3
being
feet
there.
deep. You know, it's 3 foot. It's a span of about 100 yards, maybe 150 yards, 3 feet deep. That's it. And it's loaded.
The rest of the lake is fantastic as well, but you know, your typical lake where you've got to find areas that's got 1 or 2 fish and then move 1 or 2 fish, move. But boy, there's just a ton of fish. We have never been on this lake before, but I can tell you with total
gorgeous
confidence.
gorgeous lake, and there's lake trout here as well too. Yeah. So a great lake too.
So once again, it's called Lumberjack Lodge on Sturgeon Lake. There are probably 4 or 5 lodges on this end of the lake, from what we could tell.
This is the best one though.
Oh, Mark and Stephanie Childress that operate and are part owners of this place.
Yeah.
We've been to literally hundreds of lodges in our 40 years in the business. And I got to tell you, and I said this on the Fishing Canada episode that you'll see, this has got to be, in terms of the way it's managed and the way it's built.
The attention to detail.
Oh, my
clean,
God.
new.
It's outstanding.
It's so good.
It's probably in that top 15 to 20 that we've ever been to. So,
by far. By far.
So we just want to mention that, and a shout out to them for being such wonderful hosts.
And as we said, this is a housekeeping lodge. They do not do the American plan here. You bring your food, you cook your food and all that stuff, which is not a bad thing. It's a good thing for most people. So
it's a contrast from where we were at Nordic Point Lodge, which has 5-star cuisine as far as I'm concerned, right? Yeah. So anyways, just wanted to share those things with you. We'll be doing hopefully one of these. Every time we hit a new location. We're off to the Northwest Territories.
Give me a hell yeah!
We had one more mishap here the other day. We were running all our Garmin units on, and we fished forever. All of a sudden, low battery warning went down to 11.9 or 11.1, then it went to 10.9. I said, uh-oh, boys, I've seen this before. She ain't going to start. And sure as hell, we put the
Lesson to be learned from that. What is the lesson to be learned from that?
Those little battery boosters, not a charger, just a little battery booster. I think ours is, I don't even know what the amperage is of it. Does it?
Doesn't matter.
They're
It's $70, $69.99.
Made by NOCO. The best ones are made by NOCO. Put that thing on. At first, we tried it. Wouldn't work. There's a little power boost on the button on it. Hit that. Boom. Mark started right up. And it was good to go for the rest. But that was another mishap we had on there.
They should also almost be mandatory on any
They're great. Those things
boat.
you should have in a truck, a car, or whatever, and in a boat. And they're not, they take no room. As Ann said, they're inexpensive. They're this big. They take no room at all. So
yeah, they're absolutely fantastic. So anyways, we're gonna try and do these reports from every venue that we are going to be producing a Fishing Canada episode this year.
May I intercept?
Please, I would appreciate that.
We slayed these Bell River fish on Yozuri crankbaits.
Oh my
Shallow
God, I
diving
forgot.
Yozuri crankbaits. Not often we get to. I mean, sometimes when you're walleye fishing, you got to run live bait. You just literally have to. We ran Yozuri crankbaits, shallow divers, and honest to God, it was mayhem. They just crushed them like crazy. So I have to put that plug in for Yozuri.
It's been 20 years. I can tell you, it's been 20 years since we had an experience like that on crankbaits or jerk baits.
Yeah.
Do you remember it was on Lac Seul?
Oh,
Was it Lac Seul where No, it was in Winnipeg. Or Winnipeg, Manitoba. Don't you remember? I was throwing a Rippling redfin.
Oh, wow.
Remember?
No.
That hump, the walleye on that hump.
Got me.
Oh my God.
Me. But anyways,
it
it's so
was
much fun
very
when you can
similar.
throw hard baits like jerk baits, like crank baits, rattle baits to walleye, smallmouth, pike. Oh my God, it's so much fun. So you'll lose some to the pike, but it's fun.
So that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed this rather different episode of Outdoor Journal Radio. But like I said, we will be doing these from every location that we can. In between, we'll also still be producing our regular version of the show where we'll have
Or
a
3
guest.
days at home between trips? I don't think so.
Where we'll have regular guests. Of
Yeah.
course, Dr. Stephen Cook will be doing Fish Talk with the doc on a few of them, along with some other exciting guests that our producer Dean Taylor has got lined up
Come
for
on
us.
now.
Right, Dean?
Attaboy, Dino.
Come on now.
That's
That's
it.
it.
Yeah,
All
excellent.
right, don't forget fishingcanada.com, the gateway, the portal to your next fishing adventure, the contest. We just talked to you about a couple of winners that we spent some time with this week. Why don't you be one of them and win that, if not jackpot, the pot of gold. How's that on fishing?
Crackpot.
Crackpot on fishingcanada.com. When you're there, you might also want to get some lovely swag from the store. I see Volva's wearing his.
Or you can
you're
go
wearing
to
yours.
shop.fishingcanada.com as well. So either one of those will get you there. Thank you, Clint.
On behalf of the entire crew, Volva behind the camera, Dean on the board as
Come
per
on now.
usual, my co-host Peter Bowman, I'm
Hello.
Angelo Viola. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time from On the Road.
Again.